We welcome you to this Bible study of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Ofebu, and this is my wife. We welcome you to our continuing study on husband and wife interactions, in which we select couples described in the Bible. We look at their life, look at how they interacted, how they conducted their life. We look at things they did that worked for them and things they did that maybe didn't work. And the hope is to learn something from them that we can apply to our own life today. In the first installment in this study, we looked at the Shunammite couple. We found out that they really saw themselves, they lived their life as co-leaders. The woman, the wife, was basically the spiritual leader of the family, and the man was leader in other affairs. And this worked out wonderfully for them. A very good example is their encounter with Elisha, which ended up being a tremendous blessing on the family. Today we go several generations back to look at Isaac and Rebekah, right at the beginning of the lineage of the Messiah. Abraham, of course, was the father of the Israelites, and then gave birth to Isaac, and Isaac to Jacob and Esau, and so on. We have looked at this in the past, but today what we really want to look at is to see the interactions of Isaac and Rebekah and try to learn something about their life as a couple. And what we find is that whereas in the case of the Shunammite couple, they saw themselves as co-leaders, but in the case of Isaac and Rebekah, we'll see that it was a case where Isaac was recognized as the leader of the family, and did not, everything indicates that at that time, and he was true to it, that there was really no room for his wife to participate in family leadership. He was, the man was the leader of the family, and that's it. But this created a situation because a key information about the relationship between their children. God gave them two children, two twin boys, and then made a choice that the family inheritance would be passed through the younger child instead of the older child, as their culture would have required at that time. But what is important is that he placed this information, he entrusted this Rebekah with this information, not Isaac. Rebekah accepted her husband's leadership, would not challenge her husband's authority in anything, but now she has been given an important information about relationship between their children that can only be implemented by her husband in the scheme of things. So we'll see what she did, how she maneuvered through to see to the fulfillment of this choice that God had made without overturning her husband's authority. The relationship between Isaac and Rebekah is very interesting, and a key aspect of the relationship is that they strongly believed in their marriage. Isaac loved Rebekah, and Rebekah loved Isaac, and we'll see a clear proof of this, that they lived 20 years without a child at a time that Isaac could have married many other wives because their culture allowed it. But he stuck with Rebekah and prayed until Rebekah had a child or had children. Before we continue, I'd like to find out if my wife has an opening statement. No, okay. So let us continue. As I said, we will find out that Isaac and Rebekah shared a firm commitment to their marriage. They were really committed, and both accepted the fact that Isaac was leader in family affairs. Rebekah would not challenge Isaac's authority in this matter, but then a small wrinkle appeared, and we'll see how we've already introduced this, that God placed a key information about the family with the wife and not with the husband, which meant the wife had the responsibility to lead the family in implementing this information. So how was she going to do this without overturning her husband's authority? We'll see that she devised a way. Our lesson today will come from Genesis. We'll select sections from Genesis chapter 25 through chapter 28. We are not going to read the whole thing, of course. We'll just select passages that provide us the information we're looking for. We will begin with their commitment to their marriage. As I said, they lived. Isaac was 40 years old when he got married to Rebekah, and they lived. He was 60 years old when Rebekah had children. So they lived about 20 years, during which there was no child. This was a time when he could have married more. Since he was looking for a child, we know the case of Abraham and several cases after that. Even Jacob, Isaac's son, married 2 wives, in fact 4 wives eventually. But Isaac, there is no record in the Bible indicating that Isaac looked for another wife. He was not interested. But he prayed and prayed. He believed that he could speak to God and get God to give him children through his wife Rebekah. He loved Rebekah very much. So he prayed, and for 20 years he prayed. Of course, toward the end of the 20 years, they had children. Another evidence of his love for Rebekah was when there was famine in his land and they had to escape to the land of the Philistines. When he got there, he concealed the fact that Rebekah was his wife. He told them she was his sister. And when he explained it later, he said he was afraid that they would come after his family, after him and his wife, because of Rebekah's beauty. So he tried to conceal the fact that Rebekah was his wife. Of course, he couldn't, because the king caught them showing love to each other. And then he called Isaac and said, I now know that this woman is your wife. Why did you hide the fact that she's your wife? But anyway, let's read some of the details. We have selected passages from Genesis 25, verses 20 to 21, and 24 to 26, and Genesis 26, verse 1, and verses 6 through 9.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 20. I'm reading from the New King James Version. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Verse 24. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Afterward his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Chapter 26, verse 1. There was famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Verse 6. So Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he was afraid to say, She is my wife, because he thought, lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold. Verse 8. Now it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw, and there was Isaac showing endearment to Rebekah his wife. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, Quite obviously she's your wife, so how could you say she's my sister? Isaac said to him, Because I said, lest I die on account of her.
Well, so Isaac loved Rebekah, but he appeared to have been a dominant husband. Of course, their culture, the state of things in their society probably called for men to be very high-handed in taking care of their family. It was their responsibility, and that responsibility wasn't shared with anybody. Whereas we'll see that as we go through this series, that God actually created the husband and wife to share that responsibility, to share the responsibility of leadership of the family. But their understanding then was that the husband was in charge and firmly in charge. Isaac was dominant because of that, or in respect of that. He didn't make room for his wife to contribute to directing family affairs. Now, the reason we emphasize this really is that it will help us understand some of the things that happened in their life later on. This aspect of their relationship was actually very prominent in their life, and it affected it affected key things that happened in their life. But he loved his wife very dearly, and in fact, it's quite clear here that they lived 20 years without a child, and there is nothing to indicate that he ever thought that he could solve that problem by marrying another wife. Instead, he sought to solve the problem by praying for a child through his wife, Rebekah. Well, so Rebekah conceived, had two children, had conceived with twins, but she wasn't. Something was going on, and she wasn't very happy with the children. Were very active in her womb, and she thought they were excessively active. So she went and inquired of the Lord. She prayed to find out what was going on with her. And it was there that God revealed to her that she was pregnant with two children, two boys, that will become two nations, that will separate. The way the Bible puts it is that two nations will separate from her womb, from her body. But the key information here is that the younger child will receive family inheritance. We'll read it in the Bible to see exactly how this was placed in her mind. But why this is important is that the culture of the place was that family inheritance was passed to the oldest male child. But here God was telling Rebekah, so you have two children in your womb. When they are born, the younger The older will serve the younger. Now the family inheritance here that was very important. Of course, they had a lot of things, but the one that is very important is God's promise to Abraham that was passed to Isaac, and now was supposed to be passed to Isaac's offspring, one of Isaac's children. If Isaac was left with by himself, he would pass it through the older male child, because that is the custom of their place. Now, God has informed Rebekah that this should be passed through the younger child. Now, we're going to discuss this, how was Rebekah going to get this done? Because the same information was not given to Isaac. It was given with Rebekah, meaning that God gave her the responsibility to carry this information and see to its implementation. Let us read about this in Genesis 25, verses 22 to 23.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 22. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples shall be separated from your body. One people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger."
Well, so this was a special message to Rebekah, a reminder that essentially God made a choice. He said the family inheritance will be passed to the younger child. And this information was placed with her. And with that, the responsibility not only to safeguard the information, but to see to its implementation, to see that God's choice for sharing, passing inheritance through their children will be implemented. But she also has respect for her husband's authority. She knows her husband is the leader of the family and was the person that had the authority to make a decision in such matters. That led to what I call a dilemma for Rebekah. That she knows about this choice. She believed her husband would not accept that. It's not a matter. She wouldn't. Her husband would not take that information from her because he was committed to the customary practice. No, so he loved Esau more. The Bible said that Isaac loved Esau because Esau, well, one of the reasons was Esau was a hunter and killed, made meals of wild of game meat for his father, and his father loved this. He was the outdoor type, and his father loved this kind of life. So it kind of affected his how he regarded the children. So Jacob was the soft type, and was loved more also by her mother. But because the father was committed to customary practice and loved Esau more, and had this unyielding control of family affairs, his wife did not believe that he could talk to her. Just like the Shunammite woman, several generations later, could talk to her husband and get things to happen in there, whatever she suggested was considered well and most of the time done. In this particular case, Rebekah did not believe that she could convince Isaac. She also was committed to respecting Isaac's authority as the leader of the family. So here she has two things that she needed to respect, that we are kind of in conflict with each other. So how was she going to do it? How was she going to essentially overturn the customary practice that her husband believed in without disobeying her husband's authority? And she had to do that because it's God's choice, and she'd been given the responsibility to see that the choice was implemented. So this is what I call Rebekah's dilemma. Let's see what she did. Well, we already know, but let's continue with the study. Well, her approach, and this I put it in a general way because she did it in two times in their life. Her approach was to sort of conceal her disagreement. That is, when she had disagreement with her husband, she didn't bring it forward or throw it in his face. She concealed this disagreement and looked for a way to get her husband to do what she believed was necessary to be done without bringing the disagreement forward. That actually took some skill to do, because I don't see how you could do that. But we'll see that in the case of passing family inheritance, she took advantage of her husband's failing sight to get him to confer the blessing on Jacob instead of Esau. We know the details, but we're going to look at it, read some relevant sections to remind us of the details. Then there was another incident in which she was afraid that Esau was going to kill Jacob because of after Jacob had been blessed by Isaac instead of Esau, Esau became enraged and determined he was going to kill his brother, that wanted to wait for his father to die and let them complete the mourning, and then he would kill his brother. So this information got to Rebekah, and she wanted Jacob to live. But of course, only her husband could make such a decision. She went to him, she knew that if she presented, she didn't believe she could convince her husband that that Jacob, Esau was intending to kill Jacob. So she presented something that she and her husband believed in, that was their desire that Jacob should not marry a Canaanite woman. We will look at the details later. But she prevailed in both cases. She was able to get her husband to do what she believed was right for the family without laboring on the fact that they had some kind of disagreement on it. Let's look at the first case, and this is the passing blessing, conferring blessing on Jacob. Well, Isaac wanted to confer the blessing on Esau and had directed Esau to go and get game for him so that he would feel happy and bless him. Rebekah overheard the conversation. A key part of this was at that time Isaac's sight was failing, so he could not tell what was in front of him just by looking at it. He had to touch and smell and use other ways to determine. So Rebekah took advantage of this to switch Jacob into the position of Esau at that time, and her husband blessed Jacob, thinking that he was blessing Esau. Let us read. This is a little more reading than we have heard. Genesis 27, first 13 verses.
Okay, Genesis 27, verse 1. Now it came to pass, when Isaac was old and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau his older son and said to him, My son. And he answered him, Here I am. Then he said, Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now, therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, Indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, Bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Look, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go get them for me.
Yes. So his mother was determined. Jacob had doubts, really. He wanted to obey his mother, but he was afraid that this may not work. And his mother said, Go and do what I said, and let me take the responsibility. If there is any cause, let it come on me. So it was clearly her decision. Of course, she did what she wanted, made the food, dressed Jacob up, and Jacob went, presented himself to Isaac as Esau. And Isaac ate the food. Despite his doubt, he was kind of reluctantly convinced that he was talking to Esau. So he ate the food and blessed Esau. Blessed Jacob, thinking that he was blessing Esau. Well, let us look at the second case. This was after Isaac had blessed Jacob, thinking he was Esau. Of course, Esau came back, found out about it, and was very annoyed. He was determined to kill his brother, that he wanted to wait. He didn't want to do it in the presence of his father while his father was alive. So his mother, Rebekah, got wind of this. Somehow the information came to her that this is what her son was planning. So she called Jacob and said, Look, okay, I want you to relocate to Haran, stay there with my brother Laban, and then I'll tell you when to come back. But she knew that only Isaac could really make that decision. Jacob couldn't just leave because she said so. So she went and presented the matter to Isaac. But instead of talking about the possibility of Esau killing Jacob, she just presented their concern that Jacob might marry a Canaanite woman. She said, this is not good, I'm afraid of this. If Jacob remains here, one of these days he's going to get hooked up with one of these girls. How can I live? What will my life be worth? Her husband also believed in that. They both had that concern. It's a concern they shared. So he agreed with her and said, yes, it's time for him to move. He's growing. Let him go over there to your relations so that he will get a wife from there before coming back. Essentially taking him away, asking him to leave the environment so that the chance of marrying a Canaanite woman did not arise. So she used something they agreed on to get him to do something she believed needed to be done, even though her reason for believing it should be done was different from the reason that she presented. Let us read about this in Genesis chapter 27, verses 41 to 46, and chapter 28, verses 1 to 5.
Okay. Chapter 27, verse 41. Genesis 27, verse 41. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away. 45. Until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am very weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me?
So Rebekah presented a concern they shared, but held back her real concern, which was that Esau wanted to kill Jacob.
Chapter 28, verse 1. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and charged him and said to him, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there, of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, that you may be an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham, to you and your descendants with you, that you may inherit the land in which you are a stranger, which God gave to Abraham. Verse 5. So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau.
Yeah. Well, so that is it. We have Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac loved his wife. In fact, it's probably one of the strongest love stories in the Bible. That he lived with this woman for 20 years without a child. Other men at that time would have looked for other wives, in other ways, maybe their maids or something to have children. But there's no indication that Isaac did this. In fact, we can say he did it. He was focused on getting a child through his wife Rebekah. And for 20 years he prayed. Okay, God granted his prayer, and Rebekah conceived and had two children, Jacob and Esau, or Esau and Jacob. Both were happy with Isaac being the leader in family affairs, and there was no contest about that. But Isaac probably did not make room. It appears he didn't make room for his wife to contribute in family leadership. And this is really, I think, is one of the important points of this relationship, is that yes, God created the husband to be the leader of the family, but the leadership of the family is really supposed to be shared. That's the way he created it. He may place important information with the wife or with the husband. And essentially, put it another way, he may call any of them to lead in any particular mission concerning the family. And whoever is called, the other person should support. We saw this beautifully in the Shunammite couple. In this particular case, we see an example where the relationship was not like that. And one of the things that resulted from it was, and in fact, I think God used this relationship to also show us the other side, because he still placed this important information with Rebekah, and now left it up to Rebekah, of course, guided Rebekah to find a way to implement it without challenging her husband's authority. So it's an important lesson from this relationship is that leadership of family affairs, it needs to be shared between husband and wife in whichever way that it works for them. Where the husband is the leader, then the wife should follow, and where the wife is the leader, the husband should follow. That is, a God can call anybody to a mission, and whoever is called is the leader of that mission, and whoever is aware of the call is supposed to follow. This is the wisdom of the other book. Yeah.
Well, I think from what I understand that you're trying to say is, what my understanding of what you're saying is that God can call either the man or the husband or the wife, the man or the woman in a marriage relationship. God can, God can choose whom he wants to use out of the couple.
Yes.
And for reasons best known to him.
Yes.
He can choose to reveal certain things, or to put certain mission or vision in the heart of either the man or the woman in a marriage relationship.
Yes.
There's no question about the fact that the man is the head of the home. That's the way God made it.
Yeah.
The man is the head of the home.
Yeah.
And but God also, expects that in a relationship like that, the honors, we are saying that it will be better, things will go better in a relationship if both parties realize that God can walk through any of them.
Yes.
However, when God puts the call or a charge upon the woman, she doesn't have to come up to make it look like she's the King Kong, because it is me that got this revelation. I'm going to do it my way. Okay?
No.
It doesn't take away that submission that God has said to us in the Bible, that the woman should submit and the man has to love the wife the way Christ loved the church.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
When knowing fully well that God can speak, God spoke to Mary, the mother of Jesus, first through the angel Gabriel.
Yes. Yes.
Before Joseph.
Yes.
But Joseph, okay,
yes.
Even though Joseph found it difficult initially, but when he heard the voice of God, he followed through.
Yes.
Okay. There are so many instances where God can put the vision in the heart of the woman.
Yes.
But handling it, the way we handle it as women is very important.
Yeah.
Rebekah should have known her husband, and knowing that, okay, maybe he has this domineering attitude or whatever, but she only knew that the man had a favorite meal, just the same way he requested that Esau should go and make him his favorite meal so they can bless him.
Yeah.
Every woman knows, understands the best time to be able to bring up issues to the husband. Rebekah should have explored that and used that opportunity. Because the truth, what I believe is, in as much as God gave her that vision, that two nations are in her womb, and this is what is going to happen, the older will serve the younger. Yeah. For reasons best known to God, and for reasons we started seeing much later, okay? One was in a better position to carry out the assignment that God wanted for the people of Israel. Yeah. for the people he wants to choose.
Yeah.
He has seen that it's not going to be Esau. It's going to be. But then, I don't believe that God wanted Rebekah to achieve this through deceit. Yeah, because there's nothing that can justify, the kind of deceit that Rebekah brought into her family. It became a family divided. And in as much as Jacob got the blessings, he also paid dearly for it. He paid dearly. He had to run away.
Yes.
He had to run away.
Yeah.
For all intent and purpose, he didn't see his mother again, neither did he see his father.
Yes.
He ran away. He went to his uncle Laban, who punished him twice over. For how many years he had to work in order to marry the wife that he believed is his own. He had to serve and he had to do a lot of chores. He became estranged to his brother.
Yes.
He became estranged to his brother. And he introduced this bitterness in Esau that made Esau become the father of enemy nations. Even the Jacob himself, by the time he was about to return, remember, he said, he was still afraid. He said, I'm going to let the people that have all these gifts go ahead of me so that maybe when Esau sees them, his mind, he will calm down. And all that. I still believe that God would have found a way to implement what God wanted. And not by, the interfering deceit that Rebekah did. But that's what we see in the Bible. But it is there for us as an example.
Yes.
This does not justify the fact that as women, we should deceive our homes and our husband into the vision or the call that God has placed on our lives.
Yeah.
This is not an example of it at all. The way I look at it is, I see the consequences that family had to suffer. I see the bleeding heart of a man before he died. I see the bleeding heart of Isaac before he died. That this is what is happening, because he saw that he couldn't bless he couldn't bless give the inheritance or the blessing to his firstborn son. So he must have gone to his grave, believing that he has failed both the tradition and everything. Remember then, culture and religion were not really separated. We were not really separated.
Yeah.
So these are the consequences that we shouldn't be manipulative in a home. This is what I say. Isaac loved Rebekah, no doubt. But I also believe that Rebekah would have used that love to be able to bring about the assignment or the vision that God gave him without creating so much problems that was created in that family. Yes.
Well, that is true. That's one of the lessons we learn. The purpose of this is not to teach us that a wife should resort to deceit. I think one of the lessons also is to teach us that a husband should open up. Exactly, open up, in order not to create a situation where the type of situation that probably faced Rebekah, where she felt that the way she did it was the only way she could. And you could see in the second case when she needed to send Jacob away, that was easy for her because she could find something they agreed on, but she couldn't present the case, or she felt she couldn't present the case the way she saw it. So there was already there was a feeling in her mind that she could not convince her husband. So this was the situation. We can't go.
No,
okay, say something, but not too long.
Another thing that comes out here is the fact that, as parents, Because I believe that underneath all this too is the fact that Isaac loved Esau more.
Yeah.
Rebekah loved Jacob more.
Yeah.
We should try to love our kids. You know, I know as human beings it's a bit difficult, but on no account should we preferentially love one child over the other,
Yeah.
to the point that we will begin to manipulate things and make it obvious that, oh, our mother loves this person more than that,
Yeah.
or our father doesn't love me as much as he loves this person. Okay, we should try to cushion those things and don't let that kind of preferential love push us to do things that will hurt one child in favor of another.
Yeah.
Because I think this kind of divided love and preferential love was also
It was a factor.
a factor in what making Rebecca do what she did.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting topic, and we thank you to have joined us in this topic. And we pray that you will learn from the interaction of Isaac and Rebekah, and learn something that will make you a better wife or a better husband. We'll continue with this topic. We're going to look at other examples of couples in the Bible and hope to learn something from them. So pay attention to our website, bankingblessing.org, where you will find all our previous Bible studies and all the ones we will do in the future. We thank you for joining us. We pray that you learn something that will make a positive impact on your life and bring you closer to God's purpose for your life. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, and good night.